Well, welcome everybody. I'm super excited for our guest today. We have a really, really good episode planned for you. You probably already know from the title of the video who we've got, but I'm super excited to introduce Sebastian Lodder of HCI, Hotel Collection International. So would you mind saying hi, Sebastian, to all the
Hi, Daniel. How are you
adoring
doing?
fans out there? And of course, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Juanjo.
Hey, how are you?
Well, yeah, like I said, super excited to have you here today, Sebastian. A big reason why we wanted to bring you on the podcast is you have a very kind of unique perspective there, I think, at HCI. You've got an interesting backstory. I've done some reading on your company, the founding of your company, the different hotels that you have in the various markets. But before we get to all that good stuff, I would like to maybe just start with your story and get to know you a little bit better. So you kind of come from a hospitality background and like a hotelier family?
Basically third generation hospitality
Oh, okay.
background. But yes, my father founded the company in 99 as one of the first white brand operators in Spain. My grandfather had his own restaurant, and from there we moved on to hotels, and now we are as a white brand operator both in Spain and in Georgia.
Okay, awesome. And I also read that your father tried to dissuade you from getting into the industry. It looks like it didn't work, right?
No, I had the terrible idea when I was 14 to tell him that I wanted to go into the hotel business, which meant
Mm-hmm.
that I lost the rest of my summers working in different hotels in different departments because he was just trying to make sure that I didn't go into hospitality, which didn't work. So after that, I studied at the hotel school in The Hague in Holland, and then moved on from there.
So was that your form of rebellion? Your dad says, "Don't get into hotels," and you're like, "I'm going to show
I
him."
don't know if he
I'm
didn't
gonna...
want me to get into hotels or if he wanted me to know what the business is really about and
Mhm.
the work that has to be done for it. It is a work, or you love it or you hate it. There's no in
Yeah.
between.
You have lived in many countries all over the world. So, just to list the countries that I know of, I've read that you have lived in Brazil, Colombia, Spain, Holland, Argentina.
Mhm.
Am I missing any?
And Azerbaijan for 3 years.
Ah, okay, nice. And that's when you were managing a ski resort there,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
What is different about hotel management having lived in so many different locations?
I think every country has its own peculiarities or differences, but
Mhm.
at the same time, customers do expect the same from any hotel. It doesn't matter where you are, or you're in Spain, you're in Argentina, or you are in Azerbaijan. They want the service, they want the product quality. The style of management is different. Lately, it's becoming much more unified, but I think it just depends on more than the country itself, on the type of hotel and what type of management is needed for each type of property. It's different:
Mhm.
3-star hotel, 4-star hotel, or 5-star hotel, limited service or full service hotels. They are managed in different ways. I don't think it's that much of country wise, but more of what type of property we're talking about. The reality, if we look at Europe, the way hotels are managed compared to, for example, Azerbaijan, where I worked, or Georgia, where we have our hotels, there is a bigger difference in the way hotels are managed, the structure that is needed to manage these hotels. I think over the last years, it has become very equal in that sense.
And service is still kind of that universal language, right? It doesn't matter where you go, as long as you're able to offer that really, really good service, right? That's going to be universal
I
anywhere.
think most of the people who jump into hospitality or start hotel school or things, most of the times the reason why they go for it is because it gives you the opportunity to work all over the world, where we
Hmm.
more or less speak the same language in the sense of what is expected from us or what the customer expects from us. And I think a lot of young people who are jumping into hospitality, they also do it because they know that they can work anywhere.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge draw for a lot of people. Um, and I wanted to, this next question is more so geared towards, I think our independent hotel audience will be interested in this one, but it sounds like you've also opened your own boutique hotel. Is that right? I think it was called La Estacion.
It was an old
Yeah.
train
Okay.
station. It's a 14-room boutique hotel, which we opened 20 years ago. So
Okay.
we still have it. It is like the baby of the company. Yeah, it's that is a complete different type of management style. There, you don't work with structures. You don't. You basically wake up in the morning. You are the waiter, the receptionist, and the person
You do
helping the
everything.
customers. It is a much more personal touch, and it's a way of life more than actually a hospitality business in itself.
And do you have a preference between the two, or is it like apples to oranges? You can't even compare.
I loved it while I was there personally, but it is tough because it's a
Yeah.
24-hour job, and hotels are open 24/7. Customers expect to see the owner or the host, and that means that you basically wake up at 7, you go to sleep at whenever the restaurant closes, and then you are back there again. So
Yeah.
it is a hard job. It is a tough job, but at the same time, it gives a lot of satisfaction because you are in direct contact with the customers on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, for a lot of the small boutique hotels, this host is basically the soul of the property.
And how do you think about the trade-off between that type of experience in a small property versus the enterprise, a corporate one, and in a, let's say, a Hilton or a Marriott, and how that different? Those are hotels too, but they even the same thing or?
No, I think it's for the customer is expecting something completely different. As an example, you create very close connection with the customers you have in a boutique hotel, to the point where I have a customer. The first time they came to the hotel, they were just boyfriend and girlfriend. A year later, they got married. They married in the hotel. 2 years later, they had their first kids. We did the baptism, then we did the first communion, and now we're already on the stage that we're almost thinking of getting their children married as well. This close connection you do not get in larger hotels or thing, because there is much more change in the management structure as well. It is very rare to have a manager for 20 years in the same hotel. So you don't follow this life of your customers. And this, I think, in boutique hotels, it is part of the business. It is they become part of your family, or you become part of their family. It's just a retreat, and they need to feel comfortable.
Can we talk about this full service management that you guys do at HCI? So, do you guys specialize in just the full service management? You know, taking a look at your portfolio online, it looks like you've got a lot of like very exclusive, very nice luxury boutique hotels. How did you as a company get into specializing in the full service properties?
Well, currently we in HCI we have 18 properties,
Hmm.
both in Spain and Georgia. We are managing hotels from the boutique hotel of 14 rooms to
Hmm.
five-star properties. The whole range in between. We have limited service hotels and we have full service hotels. We are
Hmm.
currently also opening a five-star boutique hotel in Mallorca with Vignette Collection. So we are comfortable working with different brands and with different type of hotels. But currently, most of our properties are limited service, and that
Hmm.
also depends on the type of contract that is signed with these properties. So from HCI, we have two business lines basically, or we lease the properties and we do the management ourselves with a third party brand, or we manage the hotels in the name of the different owners. this is a bit the two lines we are doing, and it really depends on the type of property and more of, okay, what type of property fits a specific location. Because there are certain locations where a full service hotel isn't required, and maybe it is much more efficient to have a limited service hotel. If possible, we like to get involved from the beginning of the concept of the hotel so that we can really see what type of concept fits best in a certain location. Both on the concept side and then also on the brand side. Okay, which is the brand that fits best for that location, depending on the type of property it is, the limitations we have in square meters that can be built, or what the customer is expecting in a certain area of a city or in the outskirts of a city.
Yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit, Sebastian, because I also read that you've been involved with some very interesting projects and in a lot of countries that to me seemed like, oh, very unexpected that you would do a project there, right? So I read Nigeria, Slovenia, and obviously you've mentioned Azerbaijan, but also Morocco and Portugal. So are these projects where you're involved from that development stage, or is this you're going there, you're doing a feasibility, you're starting from the ground up, or is it you're called in just to do management for these companies?
Normally for these projects, which are outside of our natural two markets that we have at the moment, which is Spain and Georgia, normally there are turnkey projects where we get involved for normally already with time set of that we will spend on this project and what the tasks we have to do. For example, the project in Azerbaijan, they asked us to help them set up the hotels in a ski resort, which were 3 hotels, a 3-star, a 4-star, and a 5-star hotel, and the different F&B outlets. But we knew, and the idea was we had to go in, we had to set it up, and we had to train the team so that the owners of the property would do the management afterwards. So we see those more as turnkey projects, the same as we did in Nigeria for a specific hotel, the same as we did in Slovenia. In this case, it was a company that had 5 hotels. They wanted to do the rebranding of the hotels and then take over. So we were involved in preparing the team for the rebranding, helping the owners getting the rebranding done correctly, doing the management of the hotels, and then after a year of the rebranding, we basically handed the package over to the owner so he could continue managing the properties himself. And most of the time, the projects we have done outside of Spain have been turnkey projects. So we don't expect to stay there for long, but we're just involved in this process, which is actually a very fun process.
Yeah, that sounds like a ton of fun. That sounds like that's almost like dream job material for some people. I do want to come back and definitely touch on that a little bit because I think, and I'm making an assumption here, but my guess is that tech and a tech stack is probably a pretty big part of that, right? When you come in and you consult with these companies and you basically set them up for success. So I definitely want to come back and maybe talk about the tech aspect of that in just a moment, Sebastian. And I guess my next question is also kind of a segue to more of the techie side of things. But you mentioned that your current portfolio is primarily split across Spain and Georgia. Now, with those being two kind of disconnected geographies, I would assume that some complexities show up, right? I mean, just at a most basic level, the time zone difference and things like that. What challenges do you have managing hotels in those two different countries? And does that necessitate that you kind of be on the cutting edge of technology? Are you just all day long flying back and forth between Spain and Georgia? Like, what is that set up for you?
It helps a lot. It makes our life much easier. The fact is we work with 2 operational teams. So we have a specific operational team for Spain, and we have an operational team for Georgia, which are communicating together on a daily basis because there's a lot of things that can be shared between managers and between operation managers or the financial people as well. They work almost as independent clusters, but technology has allowed us to travel a lot less, to have instant access to the information of the different properties. It doesn't matter where it is. And it also makes for taking decisions much faster. Without it, I would spend a lot more time in an airplane. And I would need really to be present in the hotels on a daily basis, because before it was the only way of seeing how the hotels were performing. And now, with all the different type of tools that are available, it does allow for this to work. With Juanjo, we always spoke. They always asked me, "Where is your head office?" I said, "I don't have a head office. We don't have an office. We don't have a physical office. My office is my backpack, and I work in the lobbies of our hotels. I don't have an office, and I'm not sitting in office. So I'm mostly traveling, and with my computer, I'm sitting in the lobby of our properties, because there's where we can add value to the properties. There's where we can feel how the hotels are doing. And at the same time, with the technology, it allows us to have access to all the information. It doesn't matter where we are. And I think this is the great advantage nowadays.
And are you also bringing technology into the operations? When you come into a new hotel, do you have your own playbook on what type of tech to use for everything, not for the hotel itself or for the e-commerce or digital operations of the hotel?
As you know, we work with different franchises. So we work with the big brands, which in certain way, big part of the technology is already set forward by them, especially what is the PMSs of the hotels, the revenue management systems, etc. But that also creates a difficulty for us, because that means that we need to understand every single different PMS, and we need to see how every system works. So what we have done over the time is, okay, you say there's things we cannot change, because at the end you sign with a franchise, and it is what the PMS is, what they want you to have. But we try to find tools, especially in the back of the house, and analysis tools, where we are able to aggregate the information of these different brands and look at it in the same way and in one single area, where we don't need to go through this learning curve every time we decide to sign a new brand.
So if you were to give some advice to, say, an independent hotelier to take their management to the next level, what could they do as far as tech-wise, or adopting different tech tools that would kind of help them take their hotel operations to the next level? Like, especially when you were doing those projects in some of those countries that we mentioned earlier, when they came to you looking for advice on how to modernize, how to update their systems, what should we do different management-wise, what did you recommend to them to kind of up their game a little bit as far as the technology side of things?
Well, for independent hotels, I think the big challenge is the big brands have huge budgets which they can use to develop new tools and to stay at the front end of the development of technologies. Small independent hotels, they don't have the budget for this. What we always suggest, or what we always try with them, is that they work with partners who have developed the tools already, which allow them to have access to the same type of information, the same type of tools, which the big brands are developing on a constant basis, because it is changing so fast. An independent hotel will not have the budget to keep up with all these changes if they are not partnering with the correct partners.
That as the operator, I'm sure that a lot of the work that you guys are doing is into have a great guest experience at the property itself. Yeah. What type of influence can you have on whatever happens before that person comes to the property? How they book online, what happens between the moment of booking and coming to the property? Is that more controlled by the brand, or do you guys have an influence and it's something that you can care about?
Depends on the type of hotel. If we are brand based, normally the pre-part of the experience is very much in control, is controlled by the brand itself. As soon as we do get this first booking, then we can jump in And this is happening, the follow-up emails, the controlling if everything is correct. If they want any other services, this is done from the hotel side. And the brands there are giving the tools for it and working on developing them. For independent hotels, the thing is you actually do it from the beginning. You use your resources to accompany the guest from the moment he is actually looking for a place to stay to the moment where he's leaving the hotel. And in a sense, independent hotels can adapt much quicker to specific needs of the customer because they are not tied up by standards. I think a lot of the independent hotels that are working nowadays and are working very well and are performing extremely well is because they are able to adapt much quicker to a guest need or to an inquiry than big brands, because big brands, what they try is to standardize the processes, but fortunately all the customers are different and they don't always fit into the same pattern.
And if you were to ask something from the brands on how they could help you better, without naming anyone in particular necessarily, no, but as a group, what is that you would like brands to do for operators and owners?
Simplify their tools. It is an aggregation of a whole bunch of different tools. It is fantastic, but it makes it very complicated, even for hotel managers to navigate within the different systems, because it is increasingly getting very complex. And there's a tendency that we spend too much time behind the desk. Our customers are at reception, they're at the bar, they're walking through the door. And this is where we have to spend the time and not sitting behind the desk trying to figure out how the tools are working. So for us, it is more of a simplifying the experience and making as well that the tools are easy adaptable, especially when it comes to the PMSs, the POSs. They have to be simple. You cannot spend a lot of time on trainings, and the rotations we have in the hotels is becoming a problem for most properties. So by the time you have trained somebody to use the tools correctly, they are moving up to the next hotel, and then you have to start again. So we need to find a way to make it extremely simple, say the induction process and the process of learning how everything works, so that we can actually focus the time on guest experience and not on trying to learn how the portal of a certain brand works or why a certain tool is working or not.
I think that's an excellent point, Sebastian. And I especially like how you mentioned with independent hotels that, the grass may seem greener on the branded side, but it sounds like that's actually a very big advantage that independent hoteliers can be more nimble and can, take chances on their tech stack and roll out different things and try different things and take experiments without having to wait for a more formal process that might occur with a brand, right? Is that safe to say that that is actually one advantage that independent hoteliers have, is they can explore different tools, try different tools out without having to go through a long procurement process? Is that maybe one edge that independent hotels have?
Yes, they are able to try them out, and they're able to change, and they're able to move from one system to another one much easier, because the big brands, until they have tested it, they have run the pilots, and before it is rolled out, maybe 2 years have passed. And then, so in that sense, a lot of things for independent hotels can be quicker. The big disadvantage they have is the budget they have available to be able to do this.
Do you have any hot takes on where you see our industry 1, 5, 10 years from now? Are there any things, tech-wise that are really exciting you right now? Perhaps anything around AI? Or really, let's just kind of open it up to you to, anything you're passionate about or anything that you really wanted to discuss today on this interview is fair game.
I think we're going through a big change at the moment. Technology is changing at crazy speeds. All hotels have started working with AIs for revenue management. That was the first step. But I think the development of AI within hotels is gonna take off incredibly fast this year, next year. I'm not even talking about 5 years. If we see the development programs that the big brands have and the amount of resources they're putting into it, it's incredible. I also give classes at the hotel school in The Hague, and when the first, I ask them, okay, what positions do you want to do? And a lot of people lift their hand and say, I want to be revenue manager. So, well, you chose the wrong job because this can be automated. I think there's going to be a big shift in the type of positions we will find in the hotels. And those positions that can be automated, well, they are at risk. But basically, we're going back to what we had stopped doing quite a few years ago. It is going back to giving service to the customer, because that is not, you cannot automate that process. Before, hotels had concierge and had receptionists. A lot of hotels took out the concierge and kept the receptionist because we needed to do the paperwork and we needed to do the day-to-day administration. You can automate it completely if you want. And nowadays we see a lot of examples of it. But I do believe that host, that concierge, is coming back, because that is the only difference we will be able to have in hotels. If we compare one hotel to the other one, is what is the personalized service we can give that customer. And that service will come more from the concierge or the host than from the receptionist itself. I think we will see a shift in the type of roles that we are finding within the hotels, focusing more on that personalized service, focusing more on being with the customer and helping him through the journey, and not being there to do paperwork and to move the passport from one place to the other one. I think there's a lot going on at the moment in robotics as well, finding ways of automating processes within the hotels. There are a lot of programs going on in combination between hotel school and robotic universities, and trying to find ways to make the operation of a hotel easier. That will take, I think, more time, but we will see a change there as well. Because the fact is, there is a shortage of staff, making it more complicated. And there's a lot of jobs in hotels which are hard, and people don't want to do them.
Yeah. If I can add one color to that,
Sure.
we are saying, so there's this fear of being displaced, but at the same time, there's a clear lack of revenue managers in the marketplace. Almost everyone wants to hire more of them, no? So how can you mix both ideas?
Yeah, but the reality is that I don't gain a lot of fans when I say it. And even at the hotel school, they actually tell me, shut up, because you can't tell this to the students. But the reality is, the capacity an AI has to analyze data is far beyond that of any human being. I think it's more of a question of, okay, for those revenue managers, they have to start learning how these AI works so they can steer the AIs. What will happen is their role will change. Instead of analyzing the data, the machine will analyze the data for them, and they will have to steer, I think, learn, teach, whatever you want to call it, the AI so that it takes the correct decisions. We have implemented the AI for revenue management in several hotels. It works fantastically well, but sometimes it goes crazy. It still needs a lot of teaching, and it doesn't have the feeling of the market. It analyzes data, but things change. The last weeks in Spain with the problems with the trains, we can see that it will have a direct impact on the reservations, but the AI is not able to analyze this because it's more of a sentiment. It's more of a change in a pattern, which there is nothing prior to it. So I think it is more of the role has to change from actually crunching the numbers and analyzing the numbers to be able to steer it and to guide it and to be on top of it to make sure that the decisions are correct. So in order to do this, they also have to understand how it works. and I have what we see nowadays. A lot of people don't understand how those AIs are taking the decisions or are working.
Mm-hmm. And don't you think also that there's an opportunity for that role to become more strategic, in the sense of trying to come up with a strategy that is actually differentiating from others, that brings additional value to you? Because the AI is going to respond the same to your hotel to do the one next door. But maybe you have an idea on what is the goal, because the AI is always looking for a goal that you set. So if you set different goals with a different approach, that's actually a super interesting job compared to the number crunching. Huh?
The job is easier. It's more strategic. That is where the change is going to be, and that is going to be with a lot of jobs and a lot of positions. AI will simplify it. What it will allow is that you don't have to do the number crunching, the basic works, and have more time to think and take decisions on it.
Yeah, and this is like a very tiny microcosm of that, Sebastian, but kind of getting back to what you're saying about how the role of commercial strategist and revenue manager is going to change. You know, you can even see it today with something really basic like just prompting ChatGPT or prompting like a chat bot, right? Like if you know how to prompt your question in a very refined, good way, you get a better output than if you were to just type in like, you know, a very scattered kind of question, right? So it's learning how to steer the AI best, learning how best to utilize AI to get those insights from AI, right? So I don't know, kind of a scatterbrain thought there, but I totally agree with what you're saying. And I agree. I think that's going to be how the role shifts, where you need to be really, really good at being flexible in prompting AI, knowing how to interact with AI more so than just the number crunching, like you mentioned. I think that's, yeah, I think that makes total sense. Cool. Well, I know we're kind of running up against time here, Sebastian, but usually what I'll do at the end of the interview is maybe turn it over to you if you have anything you want to plug.
We're in the middle of opening 2 hotels at the moment, so we're just moving around furniture, which is the fun part. One in San Sebastián and one in Mallorca. Actually, that's the part I most enjoy. It's the hands-on, to be able to interact with the first customers coming through the door. And that's where I'll be the next couple of months, to make sure that these hotels open. And that's the good thing of being the CEO. I can decide where I go and what job I can do. Okay, thank you very much, Daniel.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sebastian.
Sebastian, pleasure.
Juanjo, as always, a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, good. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, see you.